Today Nintendo announced the Switch Lite, a smaller, cheaper, and less capable version of the original Nintendo Switch. It has a smaller screen, it is smaller itself, it doesn't have rumble, it doesn't have detachable controllers, it doesn't have a screen brightness sensor, and it doesn't have any way to connect to your TV. But there are three things that it does have. One is a true D-pad, something many gamers have been asking for since the day the Switch was announced. The second is better battery life, gaining approximately 30% more battery life per charge. And the third and most important is a cheaper price tag at $200. Aesthetically, I think I like it, especially the turquoise version. I like that the bezel is blue rather than black. Also, it appears that the L and R buttons are more accessible compared to the original Switch. This was one of the issues I had with the original Joy-Cons, as the L and R buttons are almost flush with the edge of the controller. I am also curious to see if the ZR and ZL buttons are bigger as well, because they appear to be, but we don't have any comparison with the original at this point. I do think that an all-black version would have been preferential over the gray, but then again I'd rather there have been an orange instead of yellow, and a dark blue instead of turquoise. Oh well. Nintendo also announced a special Pokemon version of the Switch Lite. This is the opening salvo in what will surely be dozens of special edition Switch Lite consoles coming over the next few years. I don't think I need to remind anyone how many special edition 3DS systems Nintendo released. There were probably 10 Zelda systems alone. The Pokemon one isn't for me though, what with the blue and pink buttons. Still, this will sell out very quickly like all other limited edition Nintendo consoles. The D-pad is also interesting and could be a reason that someone switches to this version of the Switch versus the original. To some people, it was downright sacrilegious that Nintendo didn't include a proper D-pad on the original Switch. Nintendo obviously heard that and have included it on the Switch Lite. This is a big deal for people who play lots of 2D games or fighting games. Playing those with the buttons on the original Switch wasn't the easiest of tasks, so this is a considerable upgrade over the standard Switch. So then, who is this for? I mean, it is a Switch that cannot switch. It is a purely handheld device, and that is that. It is cheaper and smaller, and the battery lasts longer. Luckily, the screen is only marginally smaller at 5.5 inches versus the 6 inches of the original, and it maintains the same 720p resolution. A resolution of 720p on a 5.5-inch screen means that this actually has a 12% higher DPI than the original Switch. This means the games will actually look a bit sharper on this new Switch. We still don't know about screen quality yet, but if it is anything like the original Switch, then it should look pretty good. The person who is buying this obviously doesn't care about needing to connect it to a TV. That may be a new Switch owner who just wants a handheld, a parent getting it for their kid for the new Pokemon games, or most intriguing to me, a second Switch to use outside of the home. Reading a CNET article that actually had someone go hands-on with the new Switch, there are evidently plans for Nintendo to make it easier for people to have multiple Switches on the same account. This is actually a usage case that I could see a lot of current Switch owners jumping on, keeping the bigger system in the house and in their dock, and then having a smaller Switch to play if they travel. I see myself as a person just like that. I'd love to have a smaller Switch that I could also install my favorite games on and download my cloud saves to, and then take with me on the road. The issue is that currently Nintendo's account system is a little harder to use, as it requires a primary system, and then there are some other restrictions, and then of course, not all games support cloud saves. That makes switching between Switches not an ideal situation for someone who may want to take one on the go when they travel. Still, Doug Bowser, Nintendo's new president in North America, says that they are working on making it easier for the same account to use multiple Switches, so there's more to come on that. Hopefully we get a much easier way to transfer or copy saves between systems, even if it is just a wireless transfer. I also imagine that there are a ton of families out there who are about to have 2 to 4 Switches in their house. I already have a few friends that have a Switch that is always being fought over, and some others are already the owners of more than one Switch. In my own house, my wife has a Switch that has basically sat there since launch, waiting for Animal Crossing to be released, and it is still waiting even longer. From a broader company perspective, however, this is brilliant for Nintendo. At work today, I already talked to 2 people who are now going to buy a Switch. $200 really is the sweet spot for many people. That is impulse purchase territory in a store for parents at Christmas or for birthday gifts for their kids. Many people look at the Switch as a handheld device anyway, and don't care about playing on a TV. That's what their PS4 or Xbox One is for, right? I have a few friends who are hardcore PC gamers and have been interested in getting a Switch. One of them told me that they are definitely getting this to play games on the go, as $200 is no big deal to get into the Nintendo ecosystem. It may simply even be a matter of how people react to prices in their mind. $300 plus a few games and a Pro controller puts the Switch purchase price around $500. The smaller Switch doesn't necessitate a Pro controller, and it is $100 cheaper, dropping about $170 off the initial purchase price for the system. You can't discount how big of a difference that is for the vast majority of people. Nintendo is aiming for this to replace the 3DS, and they have the entire handheld market to themselves. There's literally zero competition in this space anymore now that Sony bowed out of the race. I can see these things stacked on pallets at stores all over the country on Black Friday as a Mario Kart 8 bundle for $199 and disappearing instantly. Holiday 2019 for the Switch is going to be insane, with Pokemon Sword and Shield coming out alongside this smaller and cheaper Switch. I can see Nintendo selling millions more Switches in the last 3 months of this year alone. The best news for Nintendo is that people may upgrade from that Switch to a full-featured one if they can figure out the account situation and make it easy to use. I could imagine a family getting 1 or 2 of these cheap Switches and then deciding to get one to hook up to the TV so that everyone can play Mario Kart together on the same screen. In order to do that, Nintendo needs to make the account system easy to use and swap between, including saves. Beyond that, this smaller Switch seems more durable and sounds like it feels more solid. Better battery life and a screen that will make sub-native games look even better could be something that even current Switch owners may get behind. A game like The Witcher 3 running at 540p will look better on the slightly smaller screen for sure. The same goes for Doom or Wolfenstein, or really any sub-native resolution games out there. Personally, I will be picking one up for the channel and to be able to compare it to the current Switch. If Nintendo can figure out the account and save system and make it actually useful, the smaller Switch would be perfect for me to take on my various travels, especially with that added battery life. It will definitely be disappointing to lose the HD rumble, which I love, but that is only for certain times that I'm traveling. The main Switch would still be what I use at home and can also connect to the TV. But this is Nintendo after all, and they are just now figuring out system accounts after the other major players figured this out over 10 years ago. I want Nintendo's system to be like Steam, where I can log in anywhere and download my games with my account, and if the game supports cloud saves, I can pick up right where I left off. I use this feature between my main PC and my GPD Win 2 all the time, and it is great. So, where does this leave the rumored more powerful Switch? Well, for those of us wanting that, it seems we have some time longer to wait. Doug Bowser confirmed to CNET that this will be the only new Switch hardware released this year, so we may still get a more powerful version of the Switch, but the earliest it will be is next year. While that is somewhat disappointing, I still think anytime new hardware is released, it is exciting for the industry. There are about to be a lot more people who are going to buy a Switch, and that is great news for all current Switch owners. As the system becomes more and more popular, even more developers will jump on board to develop games for it. It already has more third-party support than a Nintendo system has had since the Wii well over a decade ago, and it continues to get stronger and stronger. Given that there's not going to be a new PlayStation or Xbox until late 2020, Nintendo will maintain their momentum, probably exclusively until that time. I could see them launching a more powerful Switch closer to when Sony and Microsoft launched their new systems as well. I don't think it will be a Switch 2, but something more like a Switch Pro. I think a true Switch successor will come a year or so after the new generation of consoles release. That's right around the time that cross-platform releases will dry up, just like they did with this generation. At that time, Nintendo will need something that can play versions of those games that are released at that time. So what do you guys think about the Switch Lite? Are you planning on picking one up? Let's discuss in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe, maybe click that bell icon, and as always, thank you so much for watching.